In a recent Wormwood video, they showcased a prototype for a two-sided dice tower. A friend of mine showed me this, challenged me to make my own. And that afternoon, I showed him this. To make this, I just used single corrugated cardboard for most of the structure. Using a guide online, I made a hexagon, and this will be the base of the entire building. After cutting out the base, I made the two walls that will not have a hole at the bottom for dice to come out, so I could get that main structure down and get the dice function working first. I then cut a piece to go in the center and separate both rolling functions of either dice tower, and then built the side walls on that. So I could figure out the ramp length and size, I cut one side out, and then I made sure not to glue them shut yet, so I could reach inside and fiddle around. And then cut the ramps that the dice will roll down. Fiddling and just making sure they fit before gluing them all in. And that size works, even if it ended up with dice all over the floor. With those angles working and all my dice fitting through, I sealed it up and added a little ramp to help propel it out at the bottom of the dice tower, so then it gets and they go really far. I did the same to the other side and then came through with detailing. One side will be an overgrown tree representing the druid in our playgroup, and the other side will be a righteous noble tower representing the paladin. I came in with aluminium foil, hot gluing it down to build the basis of this tree structure, and then use hot glue to texture it to make it look like a tree trunk with a lot of bark. And with this little hot glue gun, it took a while, but I got there. After completely covering the tree trunk, I felt the rest of it kind of looked barren. To get rid of that just standard cardboard texture, I came through with some toilet tissue and PVA glue, watered it down, and made it look like a wrinkly old bark that the tree was growing over. It doesn't really make sense, but it looks good in the end. This did weaken the single corrugated cardboard, so I came through and made sure to put a lot of PVA glue over the top and give it a Mod Podge layer before painting. I didn't want just barren brick on the other side, so I decided to make this little platform. And that's just out of a jumbo popsicle stick and these tiny little coffee stir sticks to make the little wooden planks. And then as well as that, I also made a little flag, just a piece of paper rolled over a kitchen skewer cut up. And marked out where I wanted those to go and started laying my bricks using hot glue. I was using PVA glue, but that was way too slow for my liking. These are just classic foam bricks cut on a hot wire cutter and then just beaten up with some stones in a tin to give it a rounder texture. You can totally cut these with an alpha knife, however, and I've done it before. It's just the hot wire cutter is much faster. And that's all of those put on. I've got these tiny little caps that I use as mushrooms I got from Bunnings, and just going through and putting the last details on the tower. Coming in with some hot glue to make sort of like a portal effect, like some magical portal has led to this random abandoned tower. And now it's time to start painting. Classic Mod Podge black paint, come in with some grey on the bricks, and then come through, pick out a couple of bricks in yellow ochre, orange and green, just to give up some variety in the bricks. And on the other side, paint the entire thing in burnt umber, and then come through with a light dry brush of a mix of burnt umber, white paint, and yellow ochre, which is just a bit more yellow and more vibrant tan that I mix. I also added these wooden details on the stone side just to break up the color a bit more, and I'm painting that with a raw sienna, an orangey wood sort of color. And when that's got a wash over it and a dry brush, it looks like an aging orange wood, which I really like and use in a lot of my structures. And picking out those aged bricks not only brings a lot of detail and colour to an otherwise bland grey, but also gives a bit of a story as this old decrepit tower being overtaken by nature behind it. I base coat the portal in white, and I plan to come through with an air gun and paint that like a glowing effect. And then go over the whole thing in a dry brush of light grey. That brings all of the colours together. And on the other side, just a light raw umber mix. And I even spread that a bit out over onto the tower, just to bring a bit more cohesion into the overall piece together. I also base coat the mushrooms with a white, because I'll come through with spray gun to spray them as well. And then we go through a black brown wash that I mix together. I don't want it to be too dark, so I just come through with a tissue and pick up any excess that's settled on the top. I come through and give the same wash to the other side. So now we're painting this little banner. Not very good at freehand, but thank God it's meant to be a ruined tower. So the banner's going to be a bit beat up and worn out. So I just paint a little sun sign, which fits my current paladin, but also can work with basically any sort of tower that's righteous and for good. And then give that a black-brown wash as well, tap it away. Makes it look really worn and broken, and then leave some of that on there just to dry. I've got these bushes that I made a long time ago. It's the cotton you find in a teddy bear, covered in green flock. I just rip those up and put them on because I don't really use them anymore. And then I just cover basically everything in all different colours of flock. I've got some light green, come through with some tea leaves, some rope. I have this green cotton that I just droop down like it's an old ancient tree. And after all of that is done, it's time to get started on the base. I used the same hexagon shape and just tessellated it 3 times and built little structures that'll catch the dice as they come out of the bottom of the tower. Just using double corrugated cardboard this time because I learnt my lesson with single corrugation. I was going to stick this down, but friction fits in quite well, so I'll just have it 2 separate pieces, which makes it easier to store and transport. And then I just style both sides to look like the rest of the structures. The noble paladin Lucas, defending the lands from demons, sits upon his tower, never too far from his druid friend Orby, protecting the wilds from the demon incursions as well. These two have great synergy at the table and dish out hundreds of damage a turn, and take next to none. Let's hope this tower dishes out a lot of Divine Smite crits. So, just a day and I have a double-sided dice tower for use in Dungeons & Dragons, even if I miss the hole. I'm sure my players will love this.